everybody, Smart Mark Sterling here, producer of the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast, and today we're going to unbox all of the HeMan figures from the 1987 film starring Dolph Lundgren. That's right. Now, the weird thing is these figures actually span like 8 years and 2 different companies, but I just needed to get all the figures that represented that epic cult classic. In 1987, Canon Films released the film to a huge box office disappointment. It only made like $17 million and had a budget of $22 million. But since then, the film has become sort of a cult classic, and that's evident by the fact that I'm holding action figures from the film 20 years later. Literally, they were produced 20 years later. Personally, I was in love with the film, even when it came out. My brother and I literally wore out the VHS tape so much that we had to get a new one. And even today, we still quote lines from the movie to each other, such as, "Tilo, I have no choice. This is our fight. I do not want to send people to die." In the grand scheme of things, other than basically putting that production company out of business, this movie is a blip in the history of the Masters of the Universe line. But to me, it's the best part. I mean, I played with the figures as a kid, but the movie is what stayed with me. So that's why I had to get the figures that represent this movie and add them to my collection. So let's talk about the line. During the Mattel Classics line, which started in 2008, Mattel released this Blade in 2014, this Sorod in 2015, and Gwildor in 2014. So those are all support characters. The rumor is that a film version of HeMan and Skeletor were never released because there was issues with actors and their likeness. Then, when Mattel canceled the classic line and licensed it to Super 7, and the line was continued, somehow, right before Mattel took the license back, for their upcoming brand new line of figures, Super 7 was able to release these 4 figures in a sort of crowd-funded series called the William Stout Collection. So you had to order these figures like in advance, and it took a very long time to come out. I know some people were annoyed, like a year. But William Stout was the guy who created the production art for the films. So technically, these figures are based on the production art. I think this is just a way to get around the issues with the actors, but who knows? Maybe they paid rights. I have no idea. All right, let's unbox each figure. All right, let's start with a banger here. I definitely wanted to start with HeMan, and then we'll end with the I think one of the best figures of the year, which is God Skeletor. But HeMan here in the Classics box, the cool thing about these is Super 7 took this over, and the box art and everything is like so similar to the figures that Mattel was making. The weird thing is like his head is underneath the thing, which is very weird. But Rebel Leader HeMan, Heroic Defender of Eternia, Collector's Choice, Super7.com. It says on the bottom is where the big difference is between the Mattel and the Super 7. This is all information. On the back of the box, Rebel Leader HeMan, Dark Despot Skeletor, Commander Kargh, God Skeletor. That's the 4 from Super 7. A couple other in the Classics line that they've continued, and just like the rest of the Classics, a nice little bio of HeMan. I won't read the whole thing, but here it is. You can pause it and read it. All right, let's open this up. All right, here he is in all his glory. Dolph Lundgren, aka HeMan, and he has the power. So obviously he comes with a number of accessories. He's got a little knife, an even littler knife, maybe to cut steak or something, I don't know. And he's got a gun, which is interesting to me because HeMan never really shot a gun much in the cartoon, but in the movie, man, he was shooting guns. One of the really awesome things about this figure is, number one, it looks like Dolph Lundgren. Holy crap, look at the hair. Look at the 80s hair. A little more jacked than Dolph, I guess, but who knows. Of course, he comes with his amazing sword. Great detail on that. And an extra head. Now, the deal with the extra head is like, I guess, a more HeMan looking head rather than a Dolph Lundgren head. But obviously, I'm going to use the Dolph head. So the articulation is pretty good. Easy to move the joints. The detail on the body is really cool. All the pieces are kind of like rubber. and he's got like a little space on the side for the knife, and he's got a little holster for the gun, which is really cool, perfect. I don't know where the steak knife goes, and actually if you wanted, you could holster the sword in the back, which is cool. It goes like in a little sheath behind his cape, and then it's clipped to the top, and it looks really cool like that. But obviously I think I'm going to display him with it holding up in the air like he's yelling he has the power. That's the only way to do it, right? Not sure where I'm going to put the steak knife, but or the extra head. Maybe I'll put him away. I don't know. But man, this guy is awesome. Next, let's take a look at this Sorod. This one's from Mattel. This is a very similar box, just like I showed you before with the HeMan. Now, Sorod and the next two guys that I'll show you were actually, they're like henchmen for Skeletor in the movies. So the back of the box shows Gwildor, who's from the movie, Blade, who's from the movie, and then Beastman, who's in the movie, but this is more of like a cartoon figure. And then there's HeMan, but that's more of a cartoon figure, and Skeletor, which doesn't look like the movie at all. So there's 3 movie figures and 3 non-movie figures. The bio on the back is interesting because in the movie, you have no idea who this guy is really. He's just, you know, just one of Skeletor's henchmen who kind of sucks. So, yeah. I mean, again, I'm not going to read it. You can pause here and take a look at it. But let's open this up. One of the characters I knew less about or cared less about. He, you know, Kargh was neat. He's had the hook. Blade was cool. He's got multiple swords. Beastman was from the cartoon, so he's awesome. He's not a figure, obviously. And then there's Sorod, and it's like, all right, I guess he looks kind of neat. He's got armor, claws, I guess. I didn't even realize he had a tail and this weird thing on his head, I guess. So yeah, he comes with a gun. He, to me, stuck out as like somebody who like has guns and shoots. And so he comes with one gun and a holster, but I'll be honest, for the life of me, I can't get this thing holstered. I don't know if I have to fight with it or whatever. It doesn't really matter because he's going to display it in the one hand that's perfect to display, fits right around the trigger. He's got like the open hand, so I'll probably try to display that. Yeah, so that's Sorod. Next, we have Commander Kargh. This is a Super 7 figure. Now, full disclosure, there does exist another version of this Commander Kargh. It's a repaint. This is a repaint. So I just got this one. I feel like I don't need the other one. So I'm not going to get it. But he's another one of those henchmen to Skeletor. Now, on the back, it's the same box, but with a bio of Commander Kargh. All right, let's open this up. Interesting character, has some lines in the film, speaks very weird. I mean, the henchmen, the Skeletor in the movie all kind of suck, but so he comes with the gun, which you can put in his hand. There's no holster, but he also comes with this like paring knife or sword or something, which is kind of like the hook he has in his hand. I remember just thinking he was kind of cool because he has a hook. He's Captain Hook. The articulation is not as great on this figure. The legs, rubber features around the belt and stuff like that. The arms move. Obviously, the head does not. His hair is crazy. On the back, the cape is like a rubber-ish cape, and where it should be sort of felt or something like that, it's still rubber. But it's awesome. It looks great. It's kind of like flowing. It's going to look cool in the display. You can put the gun in his hand and he's shooting. Not the greatest character ever, but from the movie that I remember and love. All right, last henchman here for Skeletor is Blade. This is a Mattel figure. Masters of the Universe Classics, same box, Evil Master of Swords. Really cool guy. He has an awesome line in the film where he says, he faces off with HeMan with the swords and says, "I've been waiting for this moment for a long time." Super cool. Different box, scare glows on the back, Stinkor, Dragon Blaster Skeletor, and then also his bio, MattyCollector.com. All right, now here's Blade. Loved him. Has some cool lines. Different swords. I always thought that was interesting. So his two swords aren't like matching swords. They're different. They're like one kind of like HeMan and one's kind of like a curved sword. He's got blades everywhere. He's got the the eye patch, blades on his helmet, blades on his arm. Like, this is a cool guy. If you lift up the belt, he's got all these knives on his legs, cool boots. This is a bad guy. There are holsters for his swords on the side, but you're going to want to have him display and hold those swords. Or you can use the whip. Now, the whip is pretty neat because there's this I'm not going to say famous, but there's this scene in the film where they capture HeMan and they're trying to get information or something from him, and he's whipping him in the back with this like laser sword. So I think it's super cool that they kept that sword in with the figure. So I'm not sure what maybe I'll put the sword in his hand. I don't know. Maybe I'll keep the 2 blades for that awesome scene that he fights HeMan. The figure itself is a little bit bigger than I thought he would be. He's definitely smaller, shorter than HeMan, which makes more sense. So I'm fine with that. The armor is cool, like rubber pieces. Articulation is kind of neat on this figure. It's one of my favorites. Pretty expensive on eBay, by the way. All right, here is the last Mattel figure. I love him, Gwildor. I think that technically in the He-Man universe, I think a lot of people think of him as the Jar Jar Binks of He-Man. Nobody really likes him. He was added into the film, but I loved him. Like I said, me and my brother loved this movie. So he was kind of like the brains behind the operation, and the reason the whole film took place. He created the cosmic key that led He-Man and his friends to Earth. So it's the whole storyline. But I love Gwildor, and he comes with the prototype cosmic key, which is really cool, and his little staff, and he's a crazy looking guy. And actually, in the LJN episode of the figure, when Matt gave Brian his custom LJN figure, I remarked that it looked exactly like Gwildor. So I'll show you a little comparison right here. Now, on the back of the box, we got King He-Man, the Goddess, the Mighty Spectre, a bunch of guys that aren't in the movie, and then Gwildor, who's super cool. And to note, the little cartoon on the box doesn't really look anything like him, but it's pretty neat. And there's his bio. Let's open this guy up. I love Gwildor. Come on, how can you hate him? Look at his face, he's so cute. He comes with this staff, which fits in his hand perfectly. He's tiny, he reminds me of Hornswoggle. Now, he comes with the cosmic key, and we'll talk about that more in a second, but he also comes with the prototype cosmic key. When Skeletor, they go through the portal and they leave He-Man and his friends on Earth, Gwildor says he can build a new one. So he builds like a bigger, new cosmic key out of spare parts from Earth. And that's what this one is. So there's the cosmic key and the prototype one, I guess he builds on Earth. Lives in a cave, kind of like Yoda. Interesting character. Not much articulation, not much you can do with this guy, but it's not like he does action things, so he just kind of stands there anyways. Super detailed. I love it. All right, now let's talk about the big bad Dark Despot? Dark Depot? I have no idea. Skeletor. Now, the cool thing about Skeletor is he was played by Frank Langella, who is actually a well-heralded actor. So he played the role because his kid loved Skeletor and He-Man so much, even though, people were like, oh, I don't know, this is because you're kind of above this movie. But, I mean, he's an Oscar winner. He's been in many films, regarded as a classically trained actor. But I thought he did an awesome job as Skeletor, the smug look behind the mask. But, yeah, totally cool. Same packaging. This is kind of the Skeletor that you see the majority of the film. And this is the Super 7 figure. So on the back, you see the 4 Super 7 figures, there's 4 other figures, and then his bio. And the art here is just really cool. That picture of Skeletor is awesome. All right, let's open him up. All right, Skeletor. Holy crap, this is an amazing figure. Looks awesome, looks scary, comes with the staff and the sword, but he also comes with the cosmic key. Now, if you compare the two cosmic keys, the one with Gwildor and the one with Skeletor, it's a little different. Gwildor's is in action, whereas Skeletor's is like not yet activated. Okay, they're kind of the same size, but not really. There's no handle on Skeletor's. Now in the movie, he kind of like wore it on his side, so there's that. So basically, you got the Gwildor has the cosmic key, and then Skeletor steals it. He comes with a sword, his staff. All his pieces are like rubber, which is really cool. The detail is amazing. Articulation is fine on the legs. There's not much you can do with the rubber, though. The arms are cool. He's jacked, much more jacked than the film. Much more jacked than Frank Langella, for sure. The face is unreal. The cape is great. Love this figure. And what could top this figure? I'll tell you. All right, and last but not least, the figure that I think could have been figure of the year, just in all realms, is God Skeletor. It's absolutely insane. Now, storyline, end of the movie, he gets the power, becomes this crazy, unstoppable god-like creature, and then is defeated. I don't know. I don't want to spoil anything. But not really that long as this character, but it's just super cool. Again, the packaging looks the same back. There's a little bio here. The interesting thing about this bio is it doesn't really talk about the movie, even though it's clearly depicting the film. It kind of makes up its own little story about deceiving Adam and restoring Castle Grayskull, and tricked the evil snake goddess. It's, totally different from what you see in the movie, but I'm looking at this as the film God Skeletor. All right, let's open it up. Here is the God Skeletor. Holy crap, figure of the year. So golden, amazing. Now, basically, it's a repaint of what we just saw. I mean, I'm down to the staff. He does not come with the cosmic key or a sword, but everything is gold. The big difference, obviously, the head sculpt. It's a new head. You can't take this mask off or anything, but Skeletor at the end of the movie has all the power, and he becomes the God Skeletor, and nobody can beat him. But so it's a repaint of the previous Skeletor, all the leather, rubber pieces. But it is just so cool looking. I just can't get over it. That helmet is awesome. What an awesome part of this movie. And he is shortly defeated, but it doesn't matter. I think figure of the year for 2019. Okay, everyone, thanks for watching. We really appreciate it. Make sure that you subscribe to our channel, hit the alert button, and stay tuned because we got a lot of stuff coming up, including more wrestling figures, wrestling figure play sets, and the Fig Fed draft coming up later this month, and we are very excited about it. So, this is Smart Mark Sterling and the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast saying